Fantastic. Fantastic to see that. And I hope everyone could hear. I saw some comments about not being able to hear, but we'll try to correct that if that's a problem in the future. All right, panelists, the website went live yesterday. Hopefully you all haven't had too many LinkedIn requests since that moment, but we'd love to start off with introductions. So you can go off mute, and I'd love for everyone to please tell us your name, job title, and a very brief description of what you do. And I'll start off with who's at the top left of my screen. Andre, if you could start us off.
I'm Andre Finley. I am a supervising sound editor at Skywalker Sound. And, you know, what we do is try to take all of those wonderful visual effects and make them sound fabulous.
Great. Thank you, Andre. And next I have Caressa.
Hey, good morning. I'm Caressa Bowens. I am from Texas. I'm an experienced designer with ILM X Lab. And the job description is basically I create a big playground for VR and AR users to experience a story. So you get to step into the story.
Great. Thank you, Caressa. April.
Hi, my name is April. I'm in Vancouver, but I'm originally from Seoul, Korea. I'm currently a compositor at ILM. We basically compile all the elements, like could be FX or models, like a smoke, fire. We compile everything to look seamless at the end for a final look.
Super amazing. And Alberto.
Hello, my name is Alberto Martinez Arce. I'm originally from Mexico, and I'm a senior 3D animator. What I do is basically grab the either like characters or ships or like robots or anything that we can move and kind of like basically pose it around as if they were puppets on the computer, and that kind of like create a performance that can deliver lines or interact with actors in the scenes.
Great. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. One of the first questions I have for you is, when you were first embarking on your career journeys, what did you want to be when you were growing up? First off, what did you desire for your career while you were growing up? Andre, could you start us off?
Okay, look, straight from the top, man. This is a beautiful thing, and it's overwhelming. There's a whole lot of folks chatting stuff out there, man. And for a little knucklehead like me, that's a lot. Here's the thing. When I grew up, we were get led towards blue collar. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we were getting tracked. Kids, back in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't about having dreams for anything like this, right? It was like getting to a trade, right? Maybe you could, be a fireman, something like that. So the fact that I was able to pivot and find my way here is glorious.
Did anyone else have dreams of doing what they are doing right now when they were growing up?
For me, it was kind of similar, but at least in coming from Mexico, it was interesting. Well, it seemed really far away to be able to work on any of this. So even though I kind of like wanted to be something like this, I didn't even dream of it like for many years because I just didn't see it happen. And there was not like a clear path on how to become like somebody that works in films or video games. So it seemed like a really far away dream. And so just to get here, it was always like a winding path, just kind of like trying to get as close as possible every time.
Agree. Chris, April, anything to add with that one?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You're going in and out, actually. I see your mute is blinking.
Yeah, I don't know what I did. I'm going to leave and come back in.
Fine, and come back in? Sounds good. Okay. So, thank you. All right, and April, did you have anything to add?
I mean, same with me. I didn't really know how film was made, like up until like even in high school, I didn't know at all. So this probably was the last thing I can imagine doing. I was into like tap dancing, like other stuff, like I liked fashion, but yeah, didn't really know what to do until the end.
And now you're here. Now you're here.
Yeah.
And Carissa, I think you're good. I think you're
Okay,
good.
yeah, it's not flashing anymore. Growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I mean, I loved movies and animation, always watching cartoons, but it didn't occur to me as a kid that that was a job. So it never occurred to me to like go towards that until I got into college and went into graphic design because I was like, okay, art, computers, that's great. Let me do that. And then I think I saw some like Pixar movies like Toy Story and whatnot, and could not figure out how do I get from graphic design in Texas to Hollywood studio, not Hollywood. And I ended up finding a program in a school that ended up being how I got to Lucasfilm in the first place. So I just kind of stumbled my way into it. Like you said, at the time, there's really no distinct path. You just kind of had to, I'm interested in this, let me try and find something that kind of gets me, I think, the skill set that I might need. So, yeah.
Great. And to Andre's point earlier on, we see the chat, we see the Q&A, a lot of activity going on. We have a team monitoring that. We will sprinkle in some questions from the group as we have the conversation. Okay. So another question across the entire team. What attracted you specifically to this job, and what makes you good at it? I'll let anyone take it off from there.
I'm trying to leave room for the pros here, man. What attracted me is respectfully, I had a baby on the way and I had to buy diapers, you know what I mean? So I needed a job. I worked as a bloom operator on some productions, but that's a grimy grind, but what I found out through that process is that I loved sound, and I had transferred schools, ended up at San Francisco State, and one of the professors there had a contact here at Skywalker, and they were looking for an apprentice to work on Robert Townsend's Meteor Man. They did 5 Heartbeats a couple of years ago, and the supervisor at that time, Richard Hims, he was actively trying to find a person of color to put as an apprentice on that crew, because in his wisdom in the early 90s was that when he looked at the ranch, there were no people of color. So he at that time he consciously tried to find somebody, and the long and short of it, that person ended up being me.
And Andre, just to stick with you for one moment, just talk to people how you got introduced to Sky Sound again, if you don't mind. How'd you get introduced?
Okay, because I start rambling, and at the end of it all, I don't even know if I've answered the question. But I got introduced to Sky Sound because someone who was working here was working with supervisor Richard Hims, and like I said, they were doing the Robert Townsend movie, and he wanted to get an apprentice, who was a person of color. And so that person knew a professor at San Francisco State. That professor at San Francisco State gave a list of recent grads of about 10 to 12 of us that were on the list. We all sat down with Richard and interviewed. And man, I talked for my future. I ran my mouth. And I drew the lucky straw. There's no magic in that, really. Sometimes the thing about this business is like, if you get to sit down with someone, especially back then, it's not what per se, because you got to get the job to learn it from zero and go forward. But it's how you can present yourself as being, honest, hard worker, a person that's going to show up on time or show up 15 minutes early, as grandma would say, and leave 15 minutes late, and that's who I was, so that's where I started.
Question answered. No, thank you. Any others want to talk about that one? Yeah, Alberto.
Yeah, I can chime in a little bit. Growing up, I always had this inclination for anything that was kind of like visual entertainment, either movies, TV shows, video games, and I always kind of like felt attracted to it. Like I remember just coming back from school every time and just wanted to just go and play video games or watch a movie or like it could be the same movie. Like you have favorite movies that I might have seen like I don't know 100 times, like Jurassic Park or something like that. And when I was deciding on my career path, I was kind of like in between doing some kind of like more engineer related kind of like career or like going to a more graphic visual style. And in the end, I decided that I really wanted to do something visual, even if it was just like a graphic designer. And that was the closest thing that I could get a degree in Mexico. That I was like, all right, maybe this is kind of a part of what I wanna do. And so when I started school over there, and I started learning about like all these graphic design subjects and whatnot, I came across with this professor that called Roberto Padilla. Like he was kind of like the one that showed me that I could do 3D. Like he just introduced me to it, and I took several classes with him, just kind of like to get to know. It was even extracurricular. I didn't even have to do that, but just the first time I started doing things in 3D, I was like, holy moly, this is amazing. And as soon as that started, and I got a chance to talk to him, he kind of like showed me that I could maybe get a career out of that. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm all in, and just kind of like following the path. Like I didn't even like I remember being back in the classroom learning kind of like modeling or something like that, and just daydreaming of one day becoming like working in a big production in a movie or like something that I really liked and was passionate about. It seemed like a really far away dream, but just kind of like it was kind of like a big progression of things that slowly they kind of like were lining into place to kind of like guide me through this path, which I really like.
A follow-up question for Alberto and April. With you both not being from the States, and this is a global conference, a global summit, did you have any roadblocks as individuals that aren't from California or aren't from Hollywood and to entering the industry?
Yeah, I don't know. April, you want to start first on that one?
Vancouver is already very developed, like industry for VFX. So finding a job, I don't think I had like a big roadblock, but just getting in there, like starting, probably we're not that exposed to it earlier on, like in high school or even school. We don't have a lot of programs. Like just my school, we didn't have any VFX major. It was just 2D animation. So it was just finding that was the most challenging part. But after that, there's lots of opportunities here.
For me, at least coming from a Latin American country, like the industry, either video games or films and TV, is really small, like really small, and the projects are not as big as they have here. So you always kind of like if you want to when you're trying to get a job, you always try to aim for like the big leagues, right? But as you say, like coming from a different country that is not the U.S. or Canada, sometimes it's very difficult because of the immigration issues that sometimes really hard to get a visa. And in that case, something that played in my favor was that having a degree actually helped me a lot because that kind of like opened up the doors to some of the visas that you can get to get into the U.S., which is really helpful. Like it would have taken me way longer if I didn't have an actual degree, and 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 just kind of like that kind of like helped me kind of like jump that hurdle a little bit faster because some other people have to like travel the world a little bit before they can actually come and get a job here in the US or in Canada. So that's kind of like uh, my 2 cents is like a degree can be really good if you are from overseas and trying to get a job.
Great. Thank you for those insights. Sticking with the training and education topic, when you started your job, were there any skills or training you discovered you needed to acquire before you could do your job well? And how did you approach that hurdle? Would anyone like to take that first besides Andre?
Thank you.
All right, I'll take that one then. Yeah, like I remember, like just starting on the trying to get my first job in the industry. I thought I knew what I needed, like animation wise, what the people wanted to see, and just presenting that in my demo reel was kind of like what I tried for a while. Like I remember coming out of school and right away trying to get a job in animation, at least back in Mexico. And it took me almost a year of knocking doors to kind of like get my first try. And one of the things that I discovered that was really essential was networking. Uh, I mean, besides all the legwork that you have to do to practice, like getting to know some people that actually work on the industry or like they have some experience or at least more than you, that they can give you some advice or some feedback on your work. That was something key that I found, like getting that kind of feedback, because either both you get like some critique on your work, and also you get to start to know people that do it, and sometimes they have like opportunities that they know they open, and sometimes you're the right fit, and that's exactly how I got my first job. And basically once I started my first job, it was really easy to know all the I started to see all the different departments that existed in the company. I was doing video games at the time, and just kind of like get to know everybody and kind of like see how what I did affect, like as an animator, affected the other departments. That was really interesting. That I wasn't even expecting to have to know. So it was kind of like that.
That's great. Any others want to add? Yeah, April.
Yeah, for me, when I was in school, like I thought I knew a lot already. Like I was very confident, but when I started, I knew like that's not even close. There's like 1,000 ways to do the same thing. And it was really a shock for me actually. So I think how I overcame it is just not be afraid to ask questions. I asked like my lead like 100 questions a day, like I think at the time, like he almost got really fed up with me of asking too many questions. But um, yeah, I think that was just how I overcame it. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions, be humble, you know.
Great. This is a question for all participants. If you were talking to a high school student or someone who might be interested in pursuing a job like yours, what software or skills would you recommend they start exploring today? Gressa, do you have any to add to that?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. If you are interested in real-time sort of VR, AR work, I would definitely steer towards Unity or Unreal, taking maybe some free online courses or even just watching tutorials on YouTube. There's a ton of them. Unity will probably be easier to get into, and you'll also learn C#. And I'm going to say that it's always a good idea, no matter kind of what area you're in this industry, just because we're on computers so much, take a basic entry-level first 101 programming course, like in Python or something, just so you get a baseline knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes with your programs. I mean, it can be, just so you have an idea of if there's an error message, or if you do decide you want to build something, that you'll have a base for that. Yeah, Python is probably, for me, Python was a pretty easy first language to jump into. And then I'd also say just for general 3D, I mean, get into, there's student editions and free editions of Maya, ZBrush, which is a steeper learning curve, and Blender, I believe, is a good free one as well. But just to have a good base knowledge of computer graphics and like just like an overall package like Maya that has, you can learn how to model, you can learn how to do some basic effects, you can learn how to do a little bit of animation and lighting, just to get like a good base, get a base. But yeah, Unreal, Unity, those are your big real-time programs to learn.
I'm seeing a lot of Blender and Unity fans based on your comments.
Yeah, Unity is probably a less steep learning curve than Unreal. Unreal is for specialized teams, whereas Unity is more of a real-time program. You could probably make your own game in not pretty easily, but easier than Unreal. But they're both industry standard. They're both really good. So I would suggest both of those.
Great tips, great tips. Anyone else? What software, what skills should a high school student be brushing up on?
For sound, I would say they should learn Pro Tools. And if you are interested in sound, then I would say begin to sort of redirect your as you move in the world, the way that you listen in the world, you know, and hear footsteps, backgrounds, car bys, you know, just start listening to the world in a sonic sort of way and hear how it interacts with you, and play with Pro Tools. You know, that's what's happening today, you know.
Good.
Yeah, I started with Maya as well, but to get like a good 3D foundation base. But for compositors, we mainly use Nuke and sometimes Mocha to camera track. So I would suggest exploring that by starting off with rotoscoping, something very simple, and camera tracking.
Super. Alberto, anything to add there? Or good lists so far?
I think, yeah, no, I think it's a really good list. Maya and Blender are kind of like really good for like entry and like just getting to know like a 3D software. Also, another thing that I would recommend for like teenagers that are trying to get into these kind of jobs or careers is to look for communities online. Nowadays, they have like there's a lot more than there used to be. There's like a bunch on Facebook, there's a bunch on Discord, like Animates or Animstate. And they are like great resources, not only for like knowledge, but like getting to know people, getting to see what's happening on the industry. There's a lot of really good conversations that happen on those groups, and it's always nice to see like new people coming in and just kind of see them grow on those, like as an artist and just part of the community.
Great. And how many years did it take this group to really get into the industry after high school? How long did it take you? Was it right after your education that you got into the industry, or did it take some hopping and skipping around? We heard some of Andre's story. I know for me, it took some hopping and skipping. Took me 15 years before I entered the industry, if we're counting high school. Anyone else want to answer that one?
I'll go. So I resonate with Alberto's story about going in for graphic design because you wanted to do something art, but computer, but you didn't really know what and how to make the jump from there to like video game or film or animation industry. I got really lucky, and I was in a design program, and it was sort of any design you can think of. So some people were doing fashion design, some people were doing furniture design. I started getting into videography, and one of the professors petitioned to have a 3D program called what was it called? It wasn't Rhino. It was Form Z, and it was sort of it was more for like drafting and sort of designing maybe furniture or architectural stuff. And I started playing with that, and I was like, 3D is amazing. Just like you said, 3D is amazing. And around the same time, my sister, who went to a different university than I did, her university had this program called VizLab, and she told me about it, and it was 3D animation. And so I started looking into what I needed to do there to get into there, and part of it was learn how to code. So I had to go from all art and design all the time, now start bringing in some of these like linear algebra and coding classes. And I got into the VizLab program, and luckily it was a feeder school but I was more of a generalist than a specialist. And so the job I ended up getting was a very much an entry level foot in the door job, working on the Clone Wars at Lucasfilm. And that has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. So within the Lucasfilm sort of umbrella, I've hopped around to a few different jobs that, again, have nothing to do with what I'm doing now, but I ended up in this job. So to get from school to real-time virtual reality stuff has taken a decade. Literally took 10 years. So, yeah.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Sure. That's
But
why
that's
I'm
part of the fun of
noticing
it.
in all of your stories that there's a journey involved, and it can take many different paths. But you've been persistent, all of you, and you've gotten here by that persistence, which is great. Thank you. Another question: if you could go back to a specific point in your past to give yourself some advice, what point would that be? And what advice would you give yourself? Lots of thinking going on. Go ahead, Andre. Or Alberto. Yep.
I think the thing that I would do the most is kind of like go back and tell me to trust the path that I was trying to get into. Like many times, like I was kind of like just going through the weeds and just kind of like struggling or like getting frustrated that I didn't find a job yet, and just kind of like doubting that was the path that I should be continuing. Like maybe I was like maybe it's not mine. Or like maybe this is I should change careers. And there's many moments where when you think stuff like that, because sometimes things don't go your way for a long time, and you're just thinking that like maybe it's not for me. But just kind of like tell myself that I can to trust that I can continue, that I should follow the path, that it will lead to something good at the end. I think that's some encouragement that I needed at some point.
Good advice. Anyone else want to take that one?
I don't know.
I would say, yeah, go ahead, Andre.
Nope. You go.
For me, I would say explore more or be more curious, because like I knew I didn't know how it was made, like the film in general, but I wasn't curious enough to like look into it or be, like dig deeper on how they were made, because I just thought I wasn't talented enough. Because my older sister, was already a concept artist, and I knew how amazing she draws. So, I was just like, I can't draw like that. That's just not my thing, I guess. But I guess there's just so many more to it. There's so many more roles other than just drawing. So I would say just look into it more, explore more.
Great.
Really, Ryan? You want this?
I want it.
Hey, gosh, maybe this is why you have me here. All I can say is, see, the way my mind works is that if I go back in time to give me some advice, I'm gonna tell me to buy shares in Apple. It's not gonna be about anything to help my career. I don't want to work. I'm cashing out. But so so all I know
Good advice.
I've been doing this long enough where it's like the domino theory. I'm scared to go back and change a thing because I'm exactly where I'm at today, where I'm supposed to be. So I'd be scared to go back and change, because the mistakes and the things that I tried, the fearless moves that I've made, literally brought me to where I'm sitting here sharing with you beautiful folks. So I wouldn't change a thing per se.
I love that answer. I love all those answers. Perfect.
I would just say, general advice, even if I could go back and talk to myself, but to anybody is kind of like April said, you're going to be intimidated a lot. There are some super, super talented people, and you're going to get there and be like, I can't do that. Oh my God. What? I can't, there's not enough hours in the day for me to like get to that level, but kind of, like she said, explore and also stay with it. You know, you're going to improve faster than you think. In a year, if you have been working on something every day, even just a little bit, you'll look back and see so much progress. And so will people who are working with you. And that'll help out a lot. And then the other thing is to tell myself, your path is not going to be linear, and that's okay. Because I think a lot of people grow up thinking, okay, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get this one job, and I'm going to continue to, you know, evolve in this job. And it's going to be here and then step up, step up, step up, step up. That's like the career ladder, straight up. That's not how things work for a lot of people. And I think a lot of us aren't really exposed to that as kids, as young adults. And so when it doesn't go that way, you can get just really discouraged and really, everything I'm doing is wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. That's a big one that can just sort of derail your progress a little bit if you let it. And I would just want to tell myself it's okay that it's not happening like in the way that it seems to in I don't know, in movies or something where you I'm an associate, now I'm this, and now I'm the blah, now I'm a senior, and now I'm a CEO. Like, that's not the path for everybody. That's not the path for the majority, I would think, anymore. And that's okay. That actually leads to more interesting places in your career journey. So that's my advice for like everybody.
I would also say, like kind of building on your point, I think also even the failures that you get sometimes, or like the mistakes that you make, that also serve as a way to inform you or like make you grow in some other ways. Even if you choose the wrong career path at some point, and you're like, I need to change, like things that you learn on that first career or like on that first experience or that first job sometimes will inform or give you an idea of how to act or how to solve problems later on. And you don't know, right? Like everything you can, it depends how you take it, right? Everything, even the failures can be something that can nurture you in the long run.
I related to so much of what you're saying, all the panelists. Thank you. Where do you see your career going from here? Where would you like to see your career paths lead from this point? Are you still dreaming big? Have you already achieved it? What? Talk to us about that.
Commander. No. Okay, I'll go.
No. I
ahead,
still got time to Alberto.
Go ahead, Alberto. Yeah.
I really feel like the movies that I wanted to work on now, like I've been achieving many of my childhood dreams of working on some of the movies that I've done. And I try, and lately I've been trying to branch out and do like other stuff, like give back to the community, or like grow in different places and other places that are maybe not particularly job related, but that kind of tangential. So I'm trying to learn more of even though I might be just an animator now, trying to learn more about like engines for like video games, or even like some of my hobbies also kind of like relate to some of the stuff that I do. Kind of like I do photography too, and just kind of like taking some of that. Like you can learn like a lot of stuff from just different parts of the art that we do, and so kind of like branching out and kind of like getting more knowledge from different areas. That's what I'm up to now.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
Sure. So I don't know exactly career aspirations, but the space that I'm in right now, real-time VR, AR, is evolving so rapidly that I think it's just an exciting time to be involved in this stuff, because you can see the tech just becoming more and more advanced, like year by year. And I'm just really excited to see what we're going to come up with to do with it. Right now, it's sort of I've heard VR described as a solution without a problem. But I think in the space of storytelling and experiences in video games, we are creating things for the solution. There's some really interesting storytelling that can be done in these spaces. And I just want to be involved in pushing those boundaries career-wise. And yeah, I'm just excited about where the tech's going to take us with things like that. So yeah.
So much change going on there. It is exciting in that space for sure. Anyone else? All right, I'll move on to another one, and actually a question from the chat. I see a lot of activity in the chat and the Q&A. Keep it coming. Any advice for individuals that are trying to switch industries, transition into film, animation, VFX from a completely different industry? What advice do you have for them, or how do you approach that? Where do you even start?
It's like my case. After graduating high school, I studied communication design for 3 years. I didn't really like that, so I applied for a retail job. I worked in retail for 5 years. Didn't really like that, so I guess it's like I've been hopping around for like earlier on in my career. So what I did, I just went back to school where they had the resources to get you on track for the beginning part, and it's all just self-teach, I guess. There's a lot of resources out there already, so you'll have to try it first to see if you really like it or not. So I would encourage to make your own film. Look at tutorials, try out little clips on your own and see if you actually like it or not, because you don't know until you actually do it, you know.
That's right.
Coming from not from my personal experience, but from like some friends that I have that had that exact path. Like they were in a different career, like totally different career. Like for example, I have a friend that was a car mechanic for a good while, and then now he's an animator, right? And how he did it was he found like online classes or courses that you can take, and yeah, he kept doing his mechanic job for like during the day, and during the night or like on the weekends, he started kind of like getting involved into the other area. So that way he could maintain kind of like his livelihood for a while he was doing the transition, and that also gave him time to explore and get to know the industry a little bit and the different kind of like areas that he could work on, and then he decided on animation, and then he just kind of like kept taking those online classes, and eventually that led to like a job opportunities, and now he's worked on some really cool stuff too, and now he's a teacher, so it's definitely something that you can achieve.
These are great examples, everyone. Thank you.
I might also say, if you can just get any job with a studio, well, at least for ILM, particularly Lucasfilm ILM, you can sort of start anywhere and then express your willingness to, and your eagerness to learn. And yes, you'll have to do that at the same time as you have your day job. But like my first job was running turntables. I think that's in the video. It was for marketing. It wasn't really on any of the shows or anything. And it's going to take a while. It's kind of like the Monsters, Inc. thing where you start off in the mailroom, right? You may not start off in the mailroom, but you could. But one thing is a lot of these companies are open to training you on the side, like in whatever spare time you may have. It's probably not the most direct, it won't be the most direct route, but it is something that can still happen where you start somewhere else, but you're in the company, so you're around the people, you're learning from them. Maybe you can have a mentor within the company or within whatever department you want to get into, and very slowly work your way into an entry-level position and then come up from there. That's still a thing that can happen. I know it's rare, but look into and talk when you're doing your networking, talk to people from the company that you're interested in to see if that's a feasible pathway in the company that you want to work at too.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to get back to this project, the Get in the Door project that you're all a part of. How did you all become involved, and what really sparked your interest in being a part of the project? And as you talk about that, I know I'm going to ask Shannon or Rachel to drop the link to the Get in the Door site in the chat as well while you discuss. Who wants to kick off that one? Because I will nominate Andre.
Just wait, man. Just wait. You gotta, yeah. Oh, look at you. I got involved. Okay, here's how I got involved. You know, George Floyd happened, and the world changed. And Rain reached out to me to speak at our company powwow that we had shortly thereafter. And you know, I was feeling some kind of way about things in that moment. And Harrison saw me, and Harrison pinged me from there. And what I understood from that moment forward was that, you know, I had to do my part. Or if I had been doing my part, I had to do more than my part. You know, so if when asked to do something, I would caution you that I'm going to be me and say what I, you know, need to say. But I need to say it because as I look out there now, there are 143 people trying to get it in, you know, and it's my obligation. And I was just raised in such a way that you know, you get your foot in the door and you keep the door open and if you have to, you push it a little bit, you kick it a little bit, but you try to keep it open so that somebody could squeeze in or you know. Like we was in kids, you know, 4, 5, 6 of us could run into the movie theater behind you and see the movie like that. But so that's what it is, man. I've been in this thing. Come October, it'll be 30 years in this hustle, you know. So what has happened here at Skywalker is that we've been able to move that needle, and we've got more women and more people of color in this building than ever before. And so, you know, one foot in front of the other, that's success. You know, a brother getting choked out in the street, you know, made Skywalker be a better place. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And the people upstairs are proud to be a part of that. That's what it is.
Agreed. Who else wants to chime in on that one?
To me, it's been really important, kind of like showing people that you can achieve working in this industry or working in projects that you are passionate about. And I've been trying to do it ever since I basically joined ILM too. Like I had the opportunity to go back and speak to many universities and many students in Mexico, trying to show them that they could do it. If I can do it, they can do it. And that there's many paths that they can follow, that they can achieve this kind of career. And so when I first heard this idea of getting the door, it was like, yes, sign me up, because I know that way there's a bigger chance to reach and like touch other people's lives that I couldn't do it other way. So to me, it's always nice that there's this big push for diversity and inclusion across like the company, and that they really are trying to make a difference. And kind of like I can see it too on the whole. It's just like Andre said, which is really nice.
I think for me, there's a lack of knowledge about the jobs available in this industry in general for everybody. You know, nobody really thinks about how specialized it can get. Like if I talk to just even my sister, who's heard me talking about career, she's just now grasping the fact that, okay, there's animators, and there's effects artists, and there's lighters, and there's riggers, and there's so many different areas you can get into within even just those disciplines, and all the things that go into making movies, animations, video games, whatever. People just don't know that these jobs exist, and particularly people of color. I spend way too much time on Instagram, right? There's so many people doing all these creative things, making such creative content, and I'm like, you would be a great animator, you would be a great compositor. And I think the urge to create and the urge to do those things is definitely there, but there's not a pathway or even knowledge that, hey, you can take this and make it into a career making actual movies that you'll see on a giant screen instead of your phone screen, which, I mean, there's so much talent out there, and I want them to know, hey, the door's open. I just want to open the door and hold it open and be like, hey, over here, everybody come on in. Like you're saying about, letting your friends into the movie theater. I just think it's important to get the knowledge out there about this industry, and then also having representation to be like, it's not just for, one type of person or one demographic. It's for everybody, and it would be great to have everybody come in so we can have all sorts of different stories and voices represented and heard.
Well said. All right. April, yeah.
For me, my coworker sent me an email about the program, and I thought it was a really good cause. I thought I could share my background and how I got in the door. It's very non-traditional way. It's okay to not know about it till later. You don't have to be passionate about it since you were like little. You kind of found your way here. So I just wanted to share that with young artists because I didn't have that when I was young. So I wanted to step up and just share where I came from and how I got here.
All amazing reasons to be a part of this amazing project. Thank you all for doing what you're doing. One of the questions that came in on the chat and Q&A, how did you stay motivated during the tough times? Who did you lean on? Were you supported by family, friends? Where did you find support during the tough times?
You mean like in general, or like through COVID?
In your career journey, like did you just have to? Did you lean on anybody? Were you supported by your friends and family during this entire time?
I think in my case, it was, I always had the support of my family. Like they didn't know what I was doing really, and like for a long time they still didn't know what I did, but they just they could see that I have a passion for it, and they were always like, yeah, we'll try to support you. But also like through like along the way, you always meet people that are just like as passionate as you, and that also helps. Like so some of my friends were really encouraging at some points where it was kind of difficult, or they have some advice or something like that. And it's always, I found in this community to always have people that you can rely on, that they will support you in any way. They can be like little advices or help you out when you're in trouble or something like that. And the communities that I've been part of, they've always been amazing. So I'm really thankful for that.
Good.
For me, like to motivate myself, I think you have to have the passion there because no one's gonna hold your hand and drag you, like to be motivated. So it's really up to you. For me, like when I made my first film, like I knew how that felt like. It was very rewarding. So I wanted to just do better next time, do better, make a better one. So that's how I kept self-motivated.
I like that. I agree with that. All right. I know we're in our last 6 minutes. I'm looking at the chat, seeing if there's any other questions coming in. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about, panelists, that you do want to share today with our audience?
I would like to mention that for the people that are interested in switching to what do you call it, animation, like per se, there's a bunch of online animation schools that you can find. Like even you just Google it, and the first there's like 10 or 15 that come on the first page of Google. Some of them are Animation Mentor, iAnimate, Anim Squad, and all of them offer like different. They have like different price ranges for like that can fit like whatever budget you are in, or and some have like some payment programs too, and you can see like what are they offering, and some of them have like even classes on different areas that are not just animation, like they have some rigging or lighting or compositing, and that kind of like can help you kind of like start getting into some of those places. So just I want to throw that there. That's one way to look for the animation stuff.
Thanks, Alberto. Any others? All right. Great. Well, again, Andre, April, Caressa, Alberto, thank you so much for being a part of this panel today. A day after the website launched, please go check out the website, hear their stories. There's a video on each one of their stories to help fill in any gaps that you didn't hear today. We have a recruiting booth happening right after this for Lucasfilm, so please come on over and attend that. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.